this one.
Punch it!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 102. I will say the full number because it's astronomical that we've made it this far of Hyperspace Hype. Ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded yet another Disney Plus Star Wars show, and Evan loved it.
Nathan, wait, what? Say it again. Say that again.
Evan loved it.
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic the whole way through. No notes.
He cried.
I cried. Tears of confusion, pain, and
when Shin brought down the Star Destroyer.
I was gonna take a sip of lemonade, but I'll hold that for now. Yeah, it was fine.
Have you gone like from like rock bottom up a little bit since your departure? Has Jalen convinced you?
It's funny. It's always fun watching the finale. I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say it up front. It's always fun watching the finale of a Star Wars show, seeing how they can possibly fuck it up.
And did they?
I was huffing and puffing a lot in this episode.
No,
this was Jalen always talks about like my reaction to the Mando season 2 finale, and Nathan and I have talked about it a lot in this podcast. But like my reaction, I was like standing up, pissed off and confused and upset because I was like, this is not what I started watching the show for. I was not doing that with Ahsoka, but there was a ton of scenes where I'm sitting there like, I wish that was longer. That was fine. That's okay. That's decent. Great action. That's fun. That's crazy. I like that. But most of it, especially towards the end, I'm just like, I paused it halfway through. My brother can attest. I paused it. I'm like, oh no.
Do you know where you paused it? Do you remember where?
It was when they were charging the ship during the turbo laser sequence. Okay, and I paused before. I paused before they started running. I was like, okay, we're heading to the ship. I predicted this. Makes sense. But I paused it because I was like, Jalen, we haven't seen Shin or Baylan at all in this episode. I was like, watch them. They're not going to be in the finale. He was like, they're going to do something. Nah. No, they're not doing it. It's going to be season 2 stuff. And Jalen's like, you know, there is a season 2. Yeah, makes. I was like, no. I hate that word. I hate that phrase. Well, there is a season 2. That needs to be deleted from the TV review lexicon.
Well, Evan, my show has 6 seasons.
Oh, great. Yeah, great job.
I was thinking
maybe have longer.
I was hearing that be your stance of this, and then I was thinking back to my show, and I was like, no, he'll be happy with this. It's fun.
And we've talked about your show and our show, and I think I think there's tons of things that are developed and concluded on well at your season 1 finale. With how we talked about it, months ago. But this one just felt so inconclusive, so just like, and I said this last week when we were on this podcast. I was like, Nathan, I asked you this very question: should I be caring this much about Shin and Baylan? Should I? and I forget what you said. I think you're like, no, because I think we both were like, well, they're new characters. The show is called Ahsoka, so her storyline gets the most credit. Her storyline is the one we've talked the most about in this past couple weeks. So it makes sense that her storyline gets the focus. But if you introduce 2 new characters, I'm going to become infatuated with them, especially when they're as interesting and the possibilities are as exciting as they seem to be with Shin and Baylan. Mm-hmm. And they dangled the carrot in front of me this entire season. And I just feel like I'm excited, I guess, for season 2 when that comes out in 2025 or 2026 at this rate. I don't know. And then I'm also less excited because I'm like, it's just so far away. I'm going to forget all my investment that I think they were trying to set up with season 1, especially with the unfortunate passing of Ray Stevenson. It's going to be even weirder I'm sure they'll find another great actor, but it's still just like, it's unfortunate, it's sad, it's depressing. But that's out of their control. In terms of what is in their control, is crafting a good arc for Shin, a good arc for Balin. Why should I care about these new characters you introduced in your show? Why? And this season did not give me enough reasons to care. Oh, it gave me a reason to be interested. That's why I'm talking about them right now. Like, they're very interesting. But my emotional investment with them waned, especially after last week, where I'm just like, they were hardly in last week's episode. And when they were just like, your path ahead leads to power, or don't, rushing to victory ensures defeat. Cool. Bye, Padawan, who I've trained presumably for a long time now. Never to see you again. Never to have another interaction with you in this season. Bye, I guess. What does she think about that? Doesn't matter. What did Balin think about that? Doesn't matter. And it doesn't even exclude those. The characters they introduced in this season, Ezra and Sabine. I talked about how last week their interactions were very like, hey, we're back, Sabine. Cool, haha. And then this week, we hardly get any good down-to-earth moments. We'll talk about some of the great scenes they had between each other in this episode, but I think it's few between to the potential they had together. But overall, I thought it was very mediocre, but I liked, what the focus of the season was on, and that was Ahsoka. That was Ahsoka and Sabine's relationship. I think that alone, those two things alone, were handled decently well in this finale. Decently well. Not great, but I see it. I see where they were ending. I see the end point, with room to grow, of course, for future seasons. I think that part was handled pretty well. The ending was pretty heartwarming as well. But overall, it was classic, like, hey, Star Wars is fun, and it sure is. I had fun with certain sequences, zombies, but overall, the substance left me, huffing and puffing, blowing houses down.
Nice.
I had to do the full. Yeah, thank you.
I was considering it, and then you got it.
Nathan, aren't you? Did you cry? You totally did. You totally did.
Hang on, I welled. I welled a couple of times, maybe 3.
Let me guess. Ezra Kanan moment?
Yes.
Sabine and Ezra moment when she pushed him into the Star Destroyer, into the Chimera?
I think it was either that or when she pulls the saber.
Okay, that moment.
Because just seeing the confidence and action of her after the struggle through the season just felt great. That
was great. And then, of course, the third one being Anakin overlooking Ahsoka.
I don't. Maybe it start because these scenes happen in rapid succession. It was either that one or the Hera and Ezra moment, which I'll have a word.
I have words to say about that moment too.
I have a word from an editing perspective.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'll just say right now.
I was talk about it right now.
I love the reveal scene. I love that Chopper rushes Ezra, presumably scanning and knowing. And it was a great moment of them, recognizing each other. Like, hey, Hera, I'm home. It was lovely. But then there's a long pause of the wide shot, and they start to step toward each other, and the whole moment of this lingering moment, I'm like, oh, they're gonna hug. I can't wait for this hug. And they start walking to each other, and then the wipe happens mid start walk, and I'm like, what the weird choice.
Very weird choice. I think the overall moment for me actually felt hollow because he comes out there and it's a, he comes out in the stormtrooper armor, which makes no sense. Why? But
I presume the whole thing, he was obviously in disguise to sneak off the ship. He clearly stole one of their shuttles.
He sure did. Take it off before you get on board.
Yeah, but if he's already being escorted by the A-Wings, do you need the helmet on right now?
Right? It felt weird. But I guess they wanted that moment with Chopper being like, I recognize you, even though I know you're in stormtrooper armor. They wanted that moment.
For sure.
Which makes sense for Rebels fans. there's a lot of moments in this episode where I'm like, if you're not a Rebels fan, this goes right over your head emotionally and contextually. But yeah. So hey Hera, I'm home. Stare. They walk, then they wipe. I'm like, Filoni, commit to a scene, damn it, commit. Give them a hug. Just give them a hug. Like it felt so like we were so close, but it didn't really seal the deal. Which I think that encapsulates a lot of the scenes in this episode where I'm like, just commit to the scene. I said this last week when I compared it to Andor. I'm like, just give them a longer talking scene. Commit to a scene. Commit to two characters just talking to each other. But you don't want to do that.
It's like wafting a smell of a delicious meal, but you don't get the bite.
That's this show in a nutshell.
Oh no, yeah. The whole show.
It really is.
I had some bites.
It had some bites. You're right.
I wasn't stuffed, but I was.
You're right.
Could I eat more? Yes. Would I like to? Absolutely. Am I starving? Not starving.
No, not starving. I'm a little hungry.
I want more of that shin dish.
Yeah. Can I have that and that too? But you're right. The mid half of the season, the midway points of the season, 4, 5, and 6, I think were very good. Especially 4 and 6 for me. 5 was also very good. But I think 4 and 6 outdid 5 a little bit. But those were 2 great episodes. I think the finale, the last 2 episodes really dipped for me. But you're right. I'm not fully starving. I had some good meals this season. There was a point where I'm like, this show is great. I don't think it hit that note overall for me. I'll give my overall thoughts later about the season as a whole. But I don't think it's great. But I think it's definitely better so far than everything else we've seen besides Andor and Mando season 2 and 3. Even Mando season 1, actually. I don't know. It could be the second best, but that's not saying much because a lot of these Star Wars shows are very flawed, but fun. So that's why we love Star Wars. There's a lot to talk about, but there's not a lot to, talk about. It's hard to explain.
It does get interesting when, and I know film and television are different mediums, but it is interesting how scenes, just like simple scenes, like the hug we expected, like is just like not prevalent when it seems like, I mean, granted that's story decision, but again, like the way it was edited to like linger on a shot that seemed to be starting a scene that then we jump away from, and I don't know if that's just because they're meeting like TV quotas, like certain runtime for this finale, and we're just moving along, but there's still like editing choices you can make that can outweigh others, because they have like a lot of like lingering shots of the fights, which they're great fights, but it's like that's not the forefront you should focus.
I would 100% agree. That's a very interesting take, Nathan, because in a lot of good movies in Star Wars, whether it be I didn't even love Rogue One, but Rogue One had some good talking scenes between like one of my favorites is between Cassian and the main character. I'm blanking right now. Jin. But before they go to rescue her father, that's a good scene. Even when they're trapped by Saul, that's a good scene. When she's talking to his hologram, good scene. And there are some scenes in this show where they do commit between one-on-one conversations, but I think it's few and far between. And it's odd that a lot of these Star Wars shows don't have these good one-on-one, down-to-earth conversations, but movies do. When movies are like, at this rate, 1/3 or 1/4 as long as some of these Star Wars shows. Mm-hmm. It's really remarkable. I don't understand that. Should be the other way around. We were confident in Star Wars live action TV with the longer episodes that this could be like a longer form movie.
It's always been my defending argument that whenever like a video game is adapted, it's going to work much better in TV because you have a lot more time to express the story and feel the characters.
Big time. And if people follow this podcast, Nathan and I had a blast watching The Last of Us earlier this year, doing reviews about every episode. And we loved the game. And I feel like the TV show extended certain scenes, extended certain characters' roles in a ways, and even the setting changed in certain ways, but that allowed for interesting new dynamics and new one-on-one conversations that added to our overall experience. I feel like with Star Wars, and especially with live action, because I make this clarification because Bad Batch so far, and if also people want to go back and watch our Bad Batch reviews, those have the benefit of being, 16 episodes, a little bit less runtime with 23 minutes, but there's some great conversations, some great down-to-earth emotional moments that build in a season of Bad Batch. And some people might say a certain episode is filler. We disagree. But I feel like there's always room to grow with each episode with Bad Batch or a show like the Clone Wars or a show like Rebels. With that build successfully, and those shows, the animated shows, have had fantastic finales. Like, I think the Bad Batch season 2 finale is an all-timer Star Wars part 1, part 2 episode. I think I'm still emotionally distraught over what happened at the end of Bad Batch season 2, and it's because they earned those moments throughout the entire season.
Yeah, there is a bizarre thing to think about when you consider there is so much emotion brought to the animated shows, whether we're talking Bad Batch or the final season of Clone Wars, where there's so many moments of lingering emotion that you sit with in a scene or have between characters, and it's very odd that that's even more prevalent in the animations than the live actions, because for all intents and purposes animation is far more harder to capture, because not only is everything so precise because you have to plot out all the things to render, it's the fact that because you have to be so precise in how much you use. I mean, granted, there's the performances and the vocal boost, but then there's the whole atmosphere that you build within it. But then when you have something of the live action shows here, on set, you have moments you can do well over a number of takes, and again, within the realm of the edit, you can put that all together, and it seems like there's oddly more rushing in the thing that you would arguably have a lot more ease to create than something as intricate as an animated series.
I agree, and and adding to that, with the benefit of live action shows, you have these genuine performances. Not saying voice acting isn't a good performance, because voice acting definitely is, but it's just the difference in the medium. We get to see actual actors perform, hence it's live action, and we want to see those moments linger. That's why Ray Stevenson was such a notable feature in the show, because we were like, oh, he's acting on a different level. He seems very in tune with his character and in tune with the world around him in terms of the Star Wars of it all, and that's what made him so captivating to millions of people watching the show. We're like, oh, this guy is really good. And there's certain things you can't really do in animation, but we can visually see that in live action, and that's what makes it even more heartbreaking. One, for his passing, but two, just for the possibilities of his character. There was something there that I think even, and again, I know there's a season 2, but even if you just just tell us what's happening in season 1, so we get even more excited for what's happening in season 2. There's a way to just tease us while also making his arc feel somewhat fulfilling in season 1. Otherwise, now it's just those theories that you had for the past 3 episodes, keep them. You're going to be talking about the same thing for the next 2 years. And I'm like, okay, cool. I just, I wanted something different to talk about, but,
There does seem to be a weird, fascination of riding the high of speculation. And I worry about the idea of, how to say, riding that to the finish line as opposed to just creating more new, riding an idea from A to Z as opposed to A to B and then a new thing and something new, and then building the archetype of the story as opposed to just a small wall.
Totally agree. And yeah, there is new things. We see the setting basically, changes with Balin. There's some new things to think about given this finale. Exciting stuff, but it just adds to the mystery. We still don't know. There's no concrete floor to which we can build our speculation on anymore. Mm-hmm. We're getting closer and closer, and I'll get into the funny parts of it all. I'll talk about it right now. I haven't said this on air, but
okay, exclusive.
I saved this shit for this podcast instead of last night. And for me, Filoni took note how during the Clone Wars, people were having fun with the Clone Wars. It was a great show, and this is pre, season 7. People were like, what were some underrated episodes of the Clone Wars? You know what made Filoni so special? It's those 3 Mortis episodes. And I think those are the things that he, of course, was really connected to. But there were also the things that fans of Filoni and of the Clone Wars were like, those were underrated. Because when they first came out, people didn't like those episodes. And, it wasn't, there wasn't a lot of social media, but especially like in the mid 2008, 2009 era. But like when those episodes came out, people weren't really talking about them compared to like, hey, Maul is back. Cad Bane is here. Like those were the most hyped episodes of the Clone Wars. But
it is funny thinking like even when I think back to like TV marketing for the Clone Wars for like new episodes, the only one I can like think off the top of my head is like, hey, Chewbacca's here. It's a Wookiee. Oh shit.
Same. Like I remember, I watched every single episode of Clone Wars when it aired every Friday night. And I was my dad and brother and I were always super excited to see Cad Bane, to see Maul, to see like Savage Opress. Those are great arcs. The Mortis episodes, even for me, I didn't really connect with them automatically on first viewing. But I think as the years came by, as Rebels started to come into shape, people are like, what's some underrated episodes? Mortis. I think Filoni really took that to heart. He made it a focus in Rebels. He's making it a focus here. I'm excited for Mortis. Mortis is such a wide open thing. But on the other hand, I'm just like, there's only so much you can do with Mortis. Like, Mortis is a fascinating opportunity. It reminded me of War Between Worlds. I was excited to see it in Ahsoka because it was our second time seeing it. But now we're in our third Star Wars show with Dave Filoni, and we're doing more Mortis. Great. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get super, super excited for it again and again and again whenever it's brought up. So I hope it's cool. I hope it's exciting. But again, there's not much to say about it. Maybe when we go through the episode, I'll have more stuff to say. But right now, I'm just like, it's cool. It has some good possibilities. But I wish I cared more about Baylan so that I care more about what he could potentially be doing in Mortis. Because if I don't know Baylan's motivations outside of like New Beginning and Breaking the Wheel,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Even take an example of a villain's journey. Let's go with Dr. Octavius in Spider-Man 2, right?
Let's do it.
Obviously, the cool idea is like he's gonna get the arms.
Yeah,
he's gonna fight Spider-Man on train.
Yeah.
And granted, like similar Baylan in terms of like reaching a great like level of success here is like he's building his big fusion stabilizer, the power of the sun machine and all that. And there's a whole build up to harnessing the success of that. We get to spend time with Otto, not just as a man of science, but like he spends time with Peter. He's very he's very like informative, not only in terms of like bettering his brain, but of his life. You be better in school, but also be better of like the woman you're caring about. Giving advice, but in spending time getting the same advice from his wife, who we're also showcasing he has a deep connection with. So when we get to the big moment of the great power of all hell breaking loose, which I imagine will happen to Baylan by the time we explore that story, if we in fact do, we really care. It's like he loses his wife in that accident, and then he becomes like this self-made monster, and he falls into the whole actual big evil archetype, where then when it all comes full circle by the end, where he sacrifices himself to help Peter and save the city. It's like, oh my fucking god, this is why you're the best villain we have seen in this series. It's so good. And again, Baylan has so many seeds planted to explore idea, and granted, so many ideas that his ideals of like losing faith in like an order he comes from, an order that he respects the idea and memory of, but he wants to grow beyond it. And it's like, I am really intrigued to see that. But I would also, we're also saying, there's clearly a connection and a kinship with Shin, saying like, Ezra was trained to be a Jedi, you were trained to be something more. something better. And, that's a really great idea. But then to have the final 2 episodes be like, all right, go that way. You're good.
Yeah. Bye. Peace out.
Odd. Quite odd.
Yeah. Yeah, it threw us for a loop. And I agree with your comparison 100%. That's what makes good villains or just good characters in general, but especially villains, so interesting, right? Like, we get to see them grow. We get to see their motivations, their emotional backstories, their emotional connections to either the protagonist or to other antagonists. And seeing this, seeing Balin not have a good, dynamic, even with Shin, it was still shadowed in like, I want you to do this. He's telling her things, but she isn't really conversing back. She takes it all in. And that's what made Shin kind of interesting. I'm like, what is Shin thinking about this? We know she doesn't like Peridia, but does she accept what her master is telling her? Is she sus of Balin's ways? Especially the ways Balin interacted with Thrawn and Sabine. It's like, what is Shin thinking about all this? But Shin was left also probably in deeper mystery than Balin. I think Shin got a weaker end of the stick than him. And I just want to know what she's thinking. I mean, her scene felt way more hollow than Balin's. Because at least Balin, I'm like, okay, when I break the wheel, the Mortis gods may help you with that, sure. Shin showing up with some marauders, like, it meant nothing. I was like, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck was that, Nathan?
I also remember at a point, I think by the time Sabine and Ahsoka, or before Sabine comes in as backup, when Ahsoka and Morgan are fighting on the top of the tower, I was at the moment I was like, could Shin help? where I was like, oh fuck, wait, this is my second time asking, where is Shin?
Yeah.
Fuck. And in my brain I kept it silent, but I'm like, shouldn't be at the end. Let's go home. And granted, I'm following that story, and I like that story of the Rebels crew. But because I am also a big Shin fan now, purely off of ideas. I'm like, okay,
purely off of ideas, yeah.
And then with Balin, it's like it's not that I hate the idea of like setup of a greater thing to explore and hunt. Like that's. If I didn't like that shit, I wouldn't like the Lord of the Rings because I do.
Big time.
But I think you could have a stronger narrative if you had given more of a compelling emotional connection to Balin as to why he's searching for this greater power. I know he's explained like his whole ideas, but if you were to showcase like what trauma he experienced in his past, what molded him in like a greater understanding of what molded him into why he's of these ideas, and then also what he now sees in in Shin, that he will now even more so want to hunt this power for the betterment of not just his ideals but for her future.
Yeah, it felt very selfish towards the end, where he just like discarded her seemingly, even though he did give her like one weird line of passing, like we said about defeat and victory, whatever. It seemed very like selfish, where he just goes off on his own to break the wheel on his own. How much did he care about Shin? This season didn't give us a lot of information that he truly cared about her. They had a good dynamic between master and apprentice, but compared to Ahsoka and Sabine, this guy didn't really do much to show like his love and care and desire to help Shin, outside of saying like, I created you to be something better. Sure, you can say that, but as an audience, we can't really see that. So there's a disconnect there. And you're right. Towards the end there, I was just like, Balin and Shin, they're not in it that much. What's eventually going to happen with them? And yeah, I just wanted to learn more. And there's a way that you can create interesting Balin backstory in season 2. But for season 1, at least just give us, once again, some good motivations for his season 1 journey. Then you can peel the layers in season 2. That's how most, good narratives work. And I want to get in front of the horse too, like you mentioned. There's like Lord of the Rings. There's tons of stories out there, movies, TV shows, whatever, that give us inconclusive in a way, or not inconclusive, just teases for their finales, but that are also very exciting. Hell, in Star Wars, I saw some people saying like, Star Wars has cliffhanger ending before The Force Awakens, right? Wrong. The Force Awakens arc, the main arc, had nothing to do with Luke. Luke was the goal that characters had to reach, right?
Yeah.
But I still don't contend that was a real cliffhanger. Rey's arc was for the Force Awakens. Rey's arc was good. She accepted the call. That's her arc. And
Yeah.
for Kylo, he killed Han, and now he felt something about it. That was his arc. Finn, Finn was a little bit half-baked, but I still think Finn had a solid arc about reuniting with Rey at Starkiller Base. They were reunited. They're together. A little bit, not great, but then that's what Last Jedi is for. But anyways, the three main characters of The Force Awakens had good, solid arcs in their first outing, with Luke being the tease. That's not inconclusive. I felt very satisfied and excited for more. Like
even as minimal as someone like Finn in the story, he still is at a crossroads where, like, I was a stormtrooper. I'm not looking to be some war hero. I know what these people are capable of. We have to get out here and run and save our skins. And then by the end, he's getting his back slashed in the name of saving his friend.
Big time. That's what made it so like cheerworthy when Rey gets in there. Like it's a satisfying narrative. Trying to think, Empire Strikes Back as well. People are like, the Empire Strikes Back, major cliffhanger. No. Like, Han is the cliffhanger, sure, but at the same time, Luke's arc was solid. Vader's arc was solid. Like, these arcs are good.
There was an interesting, I guess, like granted time in 1980 where people did also presume Vader was lying.
True, that too, which is fair.
Sure. But then it is also interesting that he doubles down and calls him father when he's half dead on the Falcon.
If there was social media, I'd be like, you guys are idiots. Like, come on, how many times did the writer
George spelled that out?
George spelled it out big time. You're right. So yeah, it's like there's a way that Star Wars has done teases for their finales without being very conclusive with the characters' arcs up to that point. So yeah, it's like, and again, you mentioned Lord of the Rings as well, which is big time for that. Like, Lord of the Rings is known for its character journeys. Like, yeah, they have some cliffhangers at the end, but it's like the journey to that point was still very fulfilling, filled with great dynamics, great conversations, great battles, just a lot of different things. And that's coming from somebody who's not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. But I will reference Rings of Power, which I think this felt very much like Rings of Power. Have you watched Rings of Power, Nathan, on Amazon Prime?
I've yet to.
No spoilers, but like Rings of Power felt very much like this one as well, where it's like it was a very slow burn season. Didn't love it. I liked it. It had some good ideas, but it also felt like there's a moment at the very end that reminded me of Balin, and it was just like, here's your villain standing on a cliff. See you in season 2. He's coming, and I'm sitting there like,
I did that in The Hobbit.
yeah, that's the one. And two,
which I defend, but yes,
I just didn't care. I'm like, that's cool. Can't wait to see him in 3 years. It's like, don't do that to me.
The idea of obviously, like, the idea of forces still to face off with in the coming days is, it doesn't have to be a negative. I mean, and I think you're probably in better hands when you're presenting the same antagonist you either just faced or you've faced before, that because then there's emotional resistancy to come back because we have faced this power. Something in my show. I tend not to like branch off into like too much new. I tend to like what I'm presenting you from the beginning is gonna eventually full circle with the people we're with. Natural architect of storytelling, I figure.
Yeah, I totally agree. My favorite show of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender, keeps it pretty damn focused. There's a comet coming in. Ozai's our big bad. Ozai's going to remain our big bad. Does it introduce some villains along the way? His daughter, Azula. She has friends. Zuko. That's pretty much it in terms of antagonists. There's some sprinkled in there, like, combustion, boom boom man, whatever they call him. He's like a semi bad guy for a few episodes, but overall, antagonists remain the same. Dynamics, that way you can keep the dynamics, very clear and very interesting, and time to grow, twist, and evolve along the way.
even if you
Yeah.
Star Wars itself, it's original trilogy is pretty simple. It's like we have to face off and defeat the Empire. Like from the jump, it's like this big ball of death that kills planets. We got to destroy it, and all the way to nature teddy bears have liberated the galaxy.
Yeah.
The prequels, obviously the through line is Anakin will fall to the dark side, and we are going to see how that goes. And every film has implemented that in like the seeds of like, oh shit, like end of Phantom Menace, like Palpatine's like, I'm gonna watch over you, great interest. Attack of the Clones, death of his mom, and just like the darkness he uses, and all of the Revenge of the Sith, just seeing the fall, the tragedy that is that trilogy. And even the sequels, I think the primary biggest through line is the story of Ben being from the very first film being tortured of like the guilt of like, he is of the dark side, but he's always hearing that pull of the light. And by trilogy's end, as much as it sucks that he died, he did come back to the light, and it was wonderful.
He gets there. Yeah. And so all that to say in regards to Ahsoka, you only really had 3 antagonists: Shin, Balin, Thrawn. And I think all 3 of them got disserviced in this finale. And now going to the Thrawn of it all, because we haven't mentioned Thrawn, and there's good reason for that. He's there. And I think I wanted Thrawn, and I said this last week, and maybe that was too much on me, but to be fair, if one of the main themes of the show is like, or maybe not even theme, one of the main topics of the show is the threat of Thrawn. Is Thrawn coming back? Is he coming back? I need that fear, that antagonism to be realized. Otherwise, both the audience and the characters themselves just can be like, I guess we'll wait for season 2 for him to be a real threat. Because so far, he comes back and he doesn't really have that. And I mentioned this last week, that he's back moment from Order of the Phoenix. Like, he's back. Like, the galaxy knows he's back. In the finale, he goes to Dathomir and he gets a Raiders of the Lost Ark reference with some crates in a ship. And I'm just like, okay. And then nobody really knows he's back. I mean, I guess that's what Ezra can say, but still, it's just like,
which makes the 30 seconds of Hera in this finale a little surprising, because you could have done, okay, we have the hug, the reunition, and it just feels so, because we see like from episode 1 that Hera does also dwell on the thought of Ezra possibly coming back, and Xiono's fucking teasing her about it the whole season. That you could have had the reunite, oh my fucking god, the day is finally here. My son is back. This is great, and like just the hug. But then you could also have a close up on her face in that moment, like not only just like the sweet relief that he's alive and back, but then also the slow realization: if he's back, Thrawn's back. Oh no.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that part, but you're right. Yeah, it's like they could have used that moment, and Ezra grabs her shoulders like, Thrawn is back, and like the crowd around her like, oh crap, or like just that fear needs to sink in for the characters.
Or
and
even
we
just
didn't
like
really get that.
Even if she could just like offhand just be like, Chop, go call fucking Mothma now.
Yeah. And then close scene, and then end scene, sure. Like, then we can see what happens after that in season 2. But yeah, like the galaxy at large doesn't really know Thrawn is back. Thrawn as a force to be reckoned with, he kind of fails in this episode too.
Because I know as soon as we get to season 2, the first New Republic scene we're gonna have is just like, well, shit.
It is, and I feel like that could have been a season 1 ending, because that's a season 1 arc for the New Republic, where it's like, we were wrong. Or we're right. We're saying this is not going to happen, but then at the end, we're wrong. That ends it out. That ends it all well. That makes the tribunal scene from last week make more sense for me. It makes all the other stuff about Hera being so like, hey, or people being like, Hera's like out of line here. What's she thinking? Like, oh, there's no way he's coming back. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. It can make it all make sense by having all that fear sink in for people. And even again, Thrawn manages to leave. That was his main goal. Sure. But also for the main heroes or main characters, Thrawn return. The threat was his return, and they don't even know about his return yet. They just know about Ezra saying, "I'm home." And even Thrawn as a threat was like, he manages to leave, but like Ahsoka lives, Sabine lives, Ahsoka lives, Ezra lives. we knew that was going to happen, but just it comes across as more of a failure in a way, especially like, you know, when he doesn't get to do much himself. There's no like super big thing. He just gets to stand in front of his ship and then eventually leave. And again, I know that was his goal, but it feels very much like, okay, we knew he's getting out of there, and he did. And now he has crates of who knows what on Dathomir. Dun dun dun. So we have to stick with what's inside the crates for another 2 years. I asked this 2 episodes ago. It's like, what?
I mean, I feel like I know.
Witches?
Which probably deceased witches that they'd resurrect or something.
Or repopulate Dathomir?
Yeah, something of canon. Which is why I actually to bring up to the point, because Filoni must be doing Heir of the Empire for his movie. I imagine at this point, because they have those, they're probably gonna swap out the idea of Thrawn restarting the clone program of Jango's DNA, which he did in the story, and probably gonna replace the clone army with a Dathomir witch army or some sort, probably, maybe, because that was a fuckload of coffins.
That's a good point. That could be exciting.
Which is a fresh thing, as opposed to just being like Imperial soldiers again.
Exactly. That feels very weird. And then it also adds to what I talked about last week, where I'm like, what is Thrawn's return going to feel like to the other people in the Shadow Council and the other, you know, remnants of the Empire? Because they're all excited for Thrawn to return, but also Thrawn coming back with a shit ton of witches is probably going to turn a couple people off. And, you know, it definitely will. Not even if, it definitely will. So that can lead to some possibly interesting Thrawn versus other people in the Imperial Army, because we know if you're in the Imperial Army, you're selfish as fuck, and you're not going to like that a new Thrawn guy is, you know, coming in a higher position of power than you.
It could also be an interesting story point that they might end up going to, which is, you know, these, you know, insane dark magic witches terrorizing the galaxy, who can step in to stop this great force. The First Order here to respond, and that could be like a stepping stone of how they overcome to be the ruling power again, and the rebels are now the resistance small guys again.
True. I didn't think about that. Yeah. And you're right. Like, this show has always been about, you know, setting that up in terms of like the resistance versus the First Order. So you're right. That could be fulfilling as well. But yeah, let's take this episode piece by piece, because there are certain things I want to talk about even deeper. And yeah, where does this episode start off with?
I think we kick off with the Ezra moment, right? Ezra building the saber.
No, we don't actually.
No? Who's first?
It's Thrawn with Morgan level up. She's a new Pokemon. She's leveling up.
Right. Morgan's evolving. Pokemon's going. Boo, boo.
Comes out with the green sword. Oh shit! Oh!
Blade of Talzin.
It was a cool scene. I like seeing weird, crazy Star Wars. This is what I like about Filoni. He gets really weird. I like it.
Yeah, what I thought would be like, you know, markings or tattoos, which they arguably are, being encrusted in fire, etched upon your skin. I was like, oh fuck, that's amazing.
That was terrifying. It was dark, and they're like searing her skin. Her pupils changed to pure darkness. I was like, okay, this is really cool. Instantly, I knew she was going to die at that point. I was like, oh, so she's definitely dead.
It's interesting the amount of people I've seen, and probably myself included, having the dual thought process of like, Morgan's either about to get an awesome upgrade or has no more use and you're axed. just the threatening aura of the witches. It's like, whatever outcome it is, it probably ain't good for the soul.
Yeah, that's usually what it is. Like, that's usually what happens with witches. Like, they give you this upgrade, but then it doesn't usually end well. You know, same thing for like Maul and Savage, where it's like you become more powerful than ever. But we instantly knew it's like, okay, these characters don't have a large shelf life.
It's like The Witch.
Yeah, movie. Exactly. Ooh, great movie. Let's go. We still haven't done a commentary of The Witch, have we? It's a very slow burn movie, so I don't. Is there lots to talk about?
We'll make
it fun. You're right. We'll make them good content.
Yeah. As soon as I said it, I was like, oops.
I know, yeah.
We'll make it entertaining to engage.
There we
not
go.
not that the movie isn't. I just mean like for like watching somebody.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. That was a good stare by Anya. Love that. Anyways, just kidding.
well, because we always like take like the most minute thing. We're like, what this fucked up thing happened?
Yeah. Yeah, the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that would be very entertaining because that family is fucked up. Anyways, so yeah, Thrawn transforms Morgan. It's very cool sequence. She's improved warrior. I knew we were in for some fun action with her. As soon as I saw that sword, I was like, okay, so we're getting a rematch between Ahsoka and Morgan in this finale. And cutting to it, that was awesome. So can't wait to talk about that.
That didn't click until I was like in the middle of their fight. I was like, oh fuck, full circle there. That's cool.
Yeah, full circle and much more fast paced. You know,
faster
than in season 2. Yeah, as soon as I said it, I was like, fuck.
Big upgrade from the spear.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Which I'm just remembering got melted down into like Grogu's chainmail.
You're right, it did. Wow. You know, thank you, Morgan. We get to a great, possibly could have been better, Ezra scene. And I liked the scene, but I say it could have been better, and I'll say that for a lot of scenes where Ezra is replicating a Kanan's lightsaber. And this is pure fan service for the Rebels fans. If you know, a lot of people don't have a clue who or what Kanan is, but we have had 4 seasons of history between him and Kanan. We expected something between Ezra and Jason in this finale, and it didn't happen. But season 2.
Now, do you find this funny that the last episode he was like, I don't need a saber, and now he's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, fuck, I must be recreated. And that was part of my thing where I was like, I liked him. What?
Yes, it could just be because he has now been filled in of the threat, and he's like, well, shit.
Fuck yeah, like I might, this is not looking good for me, fam.
Which again is like I'm saying they're gonna do next season with the New Republic, and we're like, well, shit.
Yeah,
there's
gonna be a lot of Welsh shits.
Oh,
yeah, there's gonna be a lot of Welsh shits in the season 2 episode 1. Where it's like,
because couldn't you imagine the compelling idea that the New Republic's going just on their day to day, and then boom, a barrage attack from the destroyer, and Thrawn's here, and it's like, oh no.
Flash cut, like credits.
Oh, wings.
But yeah, so Ezra's recreating his lightsaber. I was kind of like, I kind of liked him without his lightsaber because it felt like last episode made a point of him saying like, all I need is the Force, and that was a very cool moment. It took me aback because I thought he'd take Sabine's saber, but and again, this show, it's insinuating a lot of scenes that we just aren't seeing. We can insinuate that Ezra told Sabine, hey, you keep my lightsaber. I'm happy that it's with you. I'll recreate my own. Do we get a scene of Ezra and Sabine talking? Nah. We just cut straight to Ezra recreating his saber, insinuating that he's allowing her to keep hers. I feel like there's a dialogue, a chance for some good dialogue there. And again, I missed out on some good Ezra and Sabine last week. I'm missing out on it again this week.
Well, I mean, I guess they kind of did that with the Rush comedic scene of just like, here's your saber, do your thing. No, I gave it to you. It's yours. I don't need it.
Yeah.
So they did do that, but I can also see what you mean of just like with the oncoming threat now that she tries to give it back and then just be like, no, I will do what I have to if I need it. This belongs to you.
True. And this reminds me, last week I was like, why is she still being so vague about how she got here and what's actually going on with Thrawn? This week, it was just off screen. We just assume he knows now because he knows now. And granted, I'm not saying that it's super important that he needs to get the rundown of what happened to Thrawn and that we need to see that because us as an audience already know that. But again, it's just prime material for some more Ezra and Thrawn or Ezra and Sabine stuff where he gets to be like, okay, what's really going on with you, Sabine? What's really like, and again, some emotional moments between them could have happened while delivering the threat of Thrawn. Mm-hmm. But, it's cut to like, well, it's time to get into action. I got to recreate his saber or Kanan's saber. So,
The whole exploration of that is kind of end up being bundled into the Sabine Ahsoka scene immediately
Yeah,
after.
exactly.
But yeah, obviously I like that scene, but obviously scenes can be improved upon even more. So
Yeah. I also wanted to mention, like, in the overall theme of it all, I do appreciate this Ezra and Kanan, the ghost of Kanan moment, because this whole show has been about, at least from Ahsoka and Sabine Dangle, not really Balin and Shins, but one of the main themes of the show has been the dynamic between a master and an apprentice. And, Ahsoka and Sabine's relationship has had its ups and downs. And I think Ezra honoring his old master in Kanan was a good way of connecting him to the overall theme of the show in terms of how to properly honor one's master. And I think this finale does that well for Ezra here, and it does it well for Sabine as well in some upcoming scenes here. But yeah, I think Hu Yang has been a very good supporting role, much bigger of a role than I initially thought, and I overall liked him, and I like him in this scene. Him talking about, like, I've been around for thousands of years, Ezra. What are you talking about? And it was some fun back and forth. I would have liked for Sabine to be in there. It is funny how he even turns to continue talking to Sabine, and she's gone.
yeah,
And I'm like, Dave, keep her there, keep her in the scene. It was a
well,
great scene too, because he's like talking about her, and I know why she left, because she's getting the whiff of Ezra appreciating his master, and then, like, she's getting the whiff of, like, okay, this is how I should be interacting with my master Ahsoka, who I kind of ditched
yeah,
in episode 5. So it
and
leads into the following scene well with for Sabine, but I kind of
yeah,
wanted more Sabine and Ezra stuff at the same time.
yeah. When he looks back to the empty doorway, for that reason, I didn't find it humorous. I found it more somber, because of those reasons. Um,
Oh yeah. I didn't say it was a humorous scene. I was just saying that, like, it was funny because I wanted,
uh,
it was funny for me because I wanted Ezra to actually talk to Sabine about what was going on, but then she just left. Like a lot of these scenes do, they just leave. But you're right. I think it is very somber. It's very emotional for Sabine and Ahsoka here.
and then we do also get the Hu Yang kind of divulging completely Ahsoka's ideology with uh, what happened between
Yes,
her
which
and Sabine, which is like show don't tell.
yeah, why can't Ahsoka tell this to Sabine? Are you serious? You're having Hu Yang tell this to Ezra instead of Ahsoka telling this to Sabine herself? Like, there's prime stuff here. What are you doing to me?
or
What are you
or
showing me?
or even if like you had like picture a moment where like you had the scene where set the scene at night and have Sabine go away. They got a little campfire going outside. She goes sit alone. She's thinking to herself, and then she thinks back, which we end up seeing the final moments of the tutelage between Ahsoka and Sabine, and what drives her away. Being the anguish of the loss of her family on Mandalore, and then having that inner thought process of Ahsoka just being troubled by it, and then cut back to the present where Sabine is sinking in that thought, of like, I could have handled the last situation we had better, and then have Ahsoka sit down and then explain that stuff of why she stopped.
I really like that idea, Nathan. Yeah, it feels much more, down to earth, where we can get it to being like connecting on a deeper level with Ahsoka and her talking about her past actions, and Ahsoka talking about, like, no, I was wrong to have left you previously. So she could talk about Ahsoka could talk about her own growth, and use that as a way to talk to Sabine, because Sabine wasn't there when Ahsoka had that whole World Between Worlds moment, and
Yeah,
you
which
know,
we talked about around
yeah,
then, of her, coming into a different perspective and realizing that she was,
exactly.
yeah,
That she was kind of wrong, and we said it last week, right? One of our main theories was that, like, Ahsoka has done pretty well for herself in terms of her arc. We knew there's going to be more to show. We also wanted more between Ahsoka and Sabine, and I think this scene out on the wing of the ship was a decent scene there, but it could have been better. Like what you're saying, I think that'd have been very, very strong where she's like pondering this, because this is a very fascinating development that connects well with what we've been saying all along. That like Ahsoka feared, and I thought it was more internal. I thought Ahsoka left Sabine because she feared what herself was capable of as a master, but she actually feared what Sabine was capable of as her apprentice, in terms of like, but it's still that same fear stemming from the prospect of death and destruction.
Yeah,
It's
the same thing that was sowed like from day one, where she refused to train Grogu because of the idea of what he could become based on his attachments, which she alludes to very much without saying it, that what happened to Anakin from her first appearance in live action. So again, another full circle moment of like understanding of why, but again, that was more we already paid off that circa episode 5.
Exactly, right. So again, it was good to see here, but it was just so jarring when I'm like, Hu Yang talks about this, and I'm like, oh wow, that'd have been very interesting for Ahsoka to say or Sabine to bring up, but no,
because there is an emotionally powerful thing in storytelling where, like, yes, you could tell what a character has gone through, or you could have it be told to you, but it's even more powerful when a person has to self-reflect and physically own up to it themselves.
Big time. I can't think of an exact moment, but yeah, that rings true. Big time. It's so true. But we do see the following scene of Ahsoka basically saying like she'll be there, and this is a kind of a post version because they both know about why they've split up. But now we have Ahsoka saying, "I'll always be there for you. I won't leave you again. I'll always be there for you," Sabine, and they trust each other. And again, it's coming full circle with her arc with Anakin saying like she understands why Anakin was the way he was, and accepting the good parts about Anakin. So now, as a master, she can accept the good parts and fully trust Sabine, her new apprentice. So it's good. They're reconciling here, and I liked it.
Absolutely.
But after that, Thrawn sent 2 TIEs to go after them. Sabine crashes into the TIEs in funny fashion. It's like, crash, got you, come right back down.
Right.
Not great. But as we both said, we knew the finale was heading towards the Chimera. We knew the only way to get back to the new galaxy was via the Chimera. In this whole episode, I was like, it's coming. We got to get to the ship. But I was also like, I think I mentioned it last week. I'm like, how does Hu Yang get on board the Chimera? Because he's usually glued to the ship. And when they had him do the repairs, I'm like, are they going to park the ship inside of the Chimera before it leaves for hyperspace? How are they going to do it? And
my thought process has always been the idea of attaching to the exterior of the ship ever since Millennium Falcon did it to a Star Destroyer in Empire and then floated off with the garbage. But then Boba Fett was like, haha. You all seen Empire? I always figured like, and they have not done it with anything, that some other ship will just dock on a surface, avoiding scan, because somehow the Falcon, which is a giant ass ship equal to the size of these other ships, can just park there and go off their scanners. And it's like, okay, well, shit. I don't know if it's a thing where like if it does jump, then they're gonna like fly off like a fly on the windshield. I don't know, but I just figured some magnetism, and it's like, all right, there we go, and we'll just hitch a ride. Which is why when I was watching the finale and like I saw their ship was down, I was like, oh fuck, this is a predicament. It's going to be like a last minute situation. But then,
cut to
minutes later, they're on the porch on their hounds. I was like, okay, well, that was
they got there fairly quickly. Thrawn's like, where are they out on the map? And it was like, they're all the way over here. Thrawn's like, I got plenty of time. Cut to, yeah, we're here. I was like, whoa, wow, okay, that didn't stall them at all.
Could have a good Shin and Balin moment in between that passage time.
I was expecting that big time. Again, I said I paused it halfway through. I'm like, oh, they're not in the episode, are they?
My initial thought when I was watching, because like they were stranded, and they're like, well, shit, what do we do now? I thought it was like, okay, well, you got to turn to Balin or Shin right now, or something.
That'd have been interesting. I think I did cross my mind. I'm like, okay,
because God, you could have had like the great like the common thread of like, we're both going to be stuck here if we don't work together. Because even if they're not on the same side, there's always those great dynamics where, like, the hero and the villain have to team up for the common goal.
Yes.
And even if you're gonna like keep Balin on his journey, and this honestly would have been a compelling way to, if you had to write him out, given, well, they didn't know at the time, that doesn't make sense. But if you were to have Balin die, which you were theorizing for a bit,
Long time, yeah.
could have had a Last Crusade moment of like just the ultimate power like calling to you, and like that making you susceptible, and like this is your last chance to like escape the darkness, and it's just like, oh, but I can do this, I know I can, and that being your undoing, the greed, right? The greed of power, while the others are racing off, and it's like, we want to help you, but if you can't help yourself, we can't help you.
Yeah, and they still could have had the same outcome, right? Like you're saying, like it could have been Balin. They could have gotten close to that same outcome, where it's like Balin choosing a selfish desire of like choosing to help them, then the last minute walking away. That could have been interesting if they didn't want to write him out.
I guess the best way, because they were so underutilized in the last two episodes, is like have Balin arrive at the power he's searching for last episode, and then he's exploring it now, and eventually the team is meeting up, just because it's like, well, we're not going to make it in time to get to the ship, maybe whatever's here could help us. And then you could have had a final moment between Shin and Balin, where like Shin wants to save Balin, but Balin knows he's already too far gone, and if he is going to die, him having a final moment, just like, go save him.
Something between them. I'm still just so astonished that there was no like, hey master, how do you feel? What's going on here? Or what's really bothering you? What new power? Can I be with you? Can I come with you? Nah.
I don't want the Empire. You don't want the Empire. You didn't teach me to want that. Why would I want
right?
that?
Why would I want that? And then she doesn't end up being with the Empire. So it's like,
which threw me off as well. I was like,
what happened? Whatever.
Okay. But then I was also thinking, as we were toward the beginning of this review, the whole idea of leaving off with Balin looking to the horizon, at least you could have had a cool scene where like Balin's looking where he needs to go, and then have him feel something, glance over the side, and over on the horizon there's Shin on a hound leading these Ravager people as well. And just sharing that longing stare from across, of just like,
oh, that'd have been great,
man.
I'm trying to think of something where there's a good longing glare, but you're off going in different directions, and it's like, man, see you on the other side. Something like that. It's been done before in lots of great media, but man, that'd have been good, because again, it felt just like their connection was there, and then when they got to Peridia, it went like this out of nowhere, and I'm just like, why? Where did this dichotomy come from?
Also, while we were starting our review, it made me think of like, I've seen in terms of like arguments with Wanda Maximoff doing a big 180 from hero Avenger to the villain of Multiverse of Madness, but at least you did see that element of Darkhold corruption for the Incredit to like tee it up a bit. Here with Balin, he's just like, something's here.
Yep, something's here. I gotta go. Bye, Shin. I created you to be something more.
Like,
bye.
Can I hear him hear voices or something? like something that call. And I know the calling is in the Force has always been like that sense of a feeling, but there's also been like a small sound effect of like the Force to like something. It's, and with this whole like crazy realm of dark witch magic that this planet holds, it's like could add some compelling of like some ethereal creepy shit like reaching out, but maybe it's something buddy of his past disguised as a voice to call out to him. It's like, oh, that's a bit something that just like more so than just like there's greater power they're running from, but I think I can handle it.
I think I can handle it. And it's Mortis again. The interesting about Mortis, at least now that I'm thinking about it, given what you're saying, it's like Mortis has the ability to go through your past fears, go through your past traumas. So we're definitely in for some Balin backstory, because Anakin went through the 7 trials of hell on Mortis, going through like what happened with his mother, Qui-Gon, Ahsoka, his future. So it's like there's a lot that he went through on Mortis. And I assume given, writing, that Balin will go through some kind of trial, which again I assume would happen this season, but I guess not. He'll go through some trial, which is going to give us some information about where he came from, his past, his motivations, etc.
Current theories that I'm seeing of what's calling to Balin right now is pulling from both elements of canon and legends, which Filoni does all the time. Is the idea of the mother calling out, who I guess was banished initially, and now we're in another galaxy where she could have been banished too, and this could be the leading thing. Because it is compelling of just like mirroring after the events of what happened in the Clone Wars Arc and Mortis, that like when we have these two statues, we have the father and son still standing, but the daughter's head is now removed because she died.
I like that. Oh, I like that theory. I always found Mortis to be most interesting because it's the absence of the mother, where Anakin, the main character, the child of prophecy, lost his mother. So him going to a place where there is an absence of mother, and the dynamic between the father, the son, and the daughter was so primed for disaster because there was the absence of the mother figure. The mother figure is usually based, in mythology speaking, for harmony, for unity. But without that, you create
Nurture
discord,
as well.
Nurture. But without that presence there for the son, he's going to lash out against the father. The daughter's going to be the what's it called? Not the ricochet, but like the unfortunate event in this, because usually men fight against each other, women get the scattered effects there. So and that's what happened. George wrote that perfectly, where he's like, the son hates the father couldn't handle the son by himself. The daughter tries to intervene. The daughter is the one that gets the bullet, basically, while the son and the father reap the unforeseen consequences. But you're right. Having the mother here on this new galaxy, an older galaxy, could be interesting. I do like that. Especially, obviously with the statues, like the daughter's head happens to be gone. And we know the daughter is
Morai is here, which is
Morai is here. Like, we know the daughter, part of her life has since died, but also part of it went on to Ahsoka and then the Morai of it all. So Morai is here, which gives us signs of hope, but also the daughter statue is gone. The father, the son is still there, and there's signs of discord. I think could be signs of bad things to come as well for Balin. Because I don't think he's just going to get a pot of gold at the end of this journey. I think he's definitely going to get some bad things. Because again, from my perspective, his journey is stemming from something of fear and fear and sadness and pain. But he's going through it in a very dark and malicious way, selfish way, which usually leads to not great things for you.
I think every journey is like the quest for power always comes at a cost.
At a cost. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So again, there's some very interesting material there that we'll see in 2 to 3 years. But yeah, back on
which is so weird because I figured we were getting the movie before. Everything.
More reports are coming out that and this is what I assume is that the 2025 film is going to be Rey, 2027 could be Filoni, which means 2025 could be Ahsoka season 2. 2 years later could be Filoni. That's my
bring something to celebration.
They got to bring something. I know, right? Bring Daisy back, and I'll be more than satisfied.
Mando season 4. I'm sorry.
We don't need it.
I mean,
at this point, just jump straight to the movie. What else can he do with this? What else can he do with this character?
It's so fucked, right? It's so fucked that it's just like it feels concluded. That's
weird, right? Like we're talking about how inconclusive this finale is. Mando attempted to be conclusive in the most messy way possible. Where it's like, you're conclusive, but also we're still there was still stuff you could have done, but now you're saying you are done. So we're like, are you actually done? Like, what is there left to do? There was stuff you could have done, but you didn't. So where are we to speculate there?
Yeah, it's like it gives me a similar feeling. I had which was my initial review. I ended up watching the Spider-Man Lotus fan film that a lot of people are.
You did that.
I did. I was like a month late, but I ended up watching it, and my take of it was because it's so jarring when you see like where we are in the story. I was like, it felt like a show was let know that they are being canceled and they have one final season, and so they had to not only rush a final season, but they had to cram it all into a 2-hour theatrical window.
Wow. Sounds like a mess.
A little bit. Now I think Mando's stronger, but
yeah, of course.
It is just weird that we've talked about it already. Mando season 3 was just like both a rush conclusion, not only for Gideon's story, but also Din
and everybody felt very half baked overall.
And this is another thing that I'm worried about with the story of Shin and Balin is the idea of like having such an interesting character, at least initially, given like such a small string through line. That's like, okay, they're set to do this, and then the next season's like they've advanced a little bit, and then we just get to reach a like either a dead end conclusion or it's still going on. Like, you know, we had that with Gideon. We're currently in there with Cobb Vanth, who's in a back to tank. Did we remember that?
Oh, I forgot about him completely. Yeah.
It's just like stuff like that is just so odd. And I need, if you're going to have a character be prevalent throughout your show, I need them to hit emotional cores within one season so I care to keep going.
100%. And I couldn't agree more. And people keep saying, well, the show is called Ahsoka. You do know that, right? Yes, we know this.
But also odd that her arc concludes mid-season.
Her arc concludes mid-season, and she does some good stuff. And we said, like, her arc concluded, her stuff with Sabine didn't. So that stuff was, again, decently followed up on in the past couple episodes, or at least in this episode, because they didn't really reunite until this episode. So it's just like, there could have been more there. But yeah, it's like you created, Filoni was the one who put in two characters, Balin and Shin, within the Ahsoka show. That means we expected you to handle 4 characters: Ahsoka, Balin, Shin, and Sabine. Just 4 characters. Just handle them well.
Do you think
that's all I asked.
Do you think he read up that those 2 names are wolf related? And he was like, that sounds really cool. How do I make it work?
100%. Yeah, I think that was the origin for sure. Yeah.
Which makes it so alarming that episode 4, I believe, Balin goes so fucking hard as a character. so he's not only like so compelling to listen to, but he's so cool, and his action is so like a hammer. He's so cool.
Great character.
Chilling in a hood.
That was hilarious. Great potential. But yeah, we expected you to conclude Ahsoka's arc, of course, because it's called Ahsoka, but also just handle other characters. Like, the show's about finding Ezra, make Ezra's last 2 episodes meaningful. And I think some of it was, some of it wasn't. And for Balin and Shin, some of them had some great scenes. Others were just, as a whole, now looking back with the power of hindsight, didn't end up amounting to much. And that's, again, what we're saying overall.
It is it's weird in thinking of like Sabine's journey, because you know, obviously we reached the conclusive arc in this episode.
Yeah, what do you think overall?
I like the story in the arc, but I do see how it's a little stretched, right? Because it seems like Dave had the idea for the arc of like, she starts here, she's isolated, she's sad, she makes a big gamble, arguably for you know, the needs of the many. It was the wrong choice, but she felt in her heart it was the right choice, which thematically is always the right choice.
Yes.
And then she gets there and she gets reunited with Ezra, and then Dave is writing this, and then he knows like it's going to conclude with, you know, being that somber apologetic recklessness that she had that she's gonna confront Ahsoka about, but then he's realizing, shit, I got 2 more episodes.
Yeah.
I gotta space out. Like, hey, I'm going home, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. We gotta have a way home. That's important. Yeah. What's been happening? Not much.
See you the next episode. I'll tell you off screen. And
then having, padded out bits of like action stuff. And I know like you have to have like the action because it's Star Wars and like for the audience. But then, and I always hate to do this, but yes, turn to Andor.
I was you
who had more episodes.
You took it out of my brain. Yeah.
And it's just
The Andor finale is so thrilling, enthralling, and peak Star Wars. And there's hardly any action until you get to the riot, which is, chaotic, but it's not super actiony, right? It's just a chaotic sequence.
Andor has multiple arcs within its season that arguably means they have multiple finales, and they all stick that landing
so well. Episode 3, 6, 9, or in this case 10, like, and then the finale is like it's all so good. But yeah, I think I'm with you where I think overall Sabine's arc stemmed from like the pain of not being able to find Ezra, the pain of being left behind by Ahsoka, and now, as we know in the finale, the pain of not being able to save her parents in the world of Mandalore, which we kind of assumed, but was finally laid out clear to us in the finale here. And that pain was supposed to be subsided when she found Ezra, and we did see a subtle, not so subtle shift in her demeanor when she found Ezra. She's smiling more, she's happy more, she's more confident. They're back together. Sabine, Ezra banter better than ever. But it comes at a cost where like they're siblings again, and it's great. Or siblings or not so siblings, you never know. But and it's great. But it comes at a cost of like not having some emotional moments where it's like she explains what she felt previously. She explained what she went through previously. We kind of gloss over that to get that happy Sabine moment. And then with her and Ahsoka, we do get, and it's mainly through the action instead of the dialogue. We do get some like, I'll always be with you, Ahsoka. And then she puts her trust in Ahsoka now that she knows Ahsoka put her trust in her. Which is good. It's good stuff, but it's via action. Now, I like it. I like character work via action, but I also want it to be balanced with character work via good dialogue. And I think that was kind of missing a little bit. But overall, I was decently happy with Sabine's overall arc. Decently happy with where we ended with her. With, again, more room to grow. We'll talk about it more when we get to the end scene, but there's still room to grow for Ahsoka and Sabine. I'm excited to see how they get out of this mess. But let's talk about some zombies, because the witches are like, we got to stall these guys. They're really on our ass. And Thrawn's like, phase 1, zombies, baby. And this is after they get past the turbo lasers, of course, which is a very fun sequence too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the zombies was something I didn't really expect. People have been talking about it, but it's like, when they didn't happen last week, I was like, okay, I guess it's not happening. But the zombies are here and here to stay, and they're actually pretty cool. I didn't mind it. It was fun.
Yeah. Big was it Death Troopers vibes? Like that Legends novel.
Yeah, heard about it, never read it.
Me either, but heard about it. Infamous cover of a bloody stormtrooper helmet.
Very cool cover. Yeah,
but
and it was cool. Is Ezra with his lightsaber, Sabine with her, and I like how she switches, like, because it's still a work in progress with her and her lightsaber skills.
I saw a GIF and it was amazing to like see this detail because it was like looping on playback. Is like when like they're starting, Ezra deflecting back easy, Ahsoka deflecting back easy, Sabine. First thing that happens, shot in the face in her helmet, shot in the face, and then also when she's deflecting, everything's going to the floor or to the side of her.
Oh, cool.
There's not like that equal precision yet, which is cool. That's great detail to have.
Yeah, she's still hardly in tune to the Force until we get to the moment later on. And that kind of Force lightsaber deflection, I mean, is like Form 1 stuff, and she just doesn't have that kind of training. but I hate training anyway, so I like going through this, getting put it into the deep end instead of training. But yeah, that was really cool. She switches to blasters. They make clean work of it. Then they realize they keep coming back, so they haul up and up the tower. Cut to they're fighting with Morgan. Morgan comes into the boss battle arena here. It was very fun.
No challenger.
Basically, like she comes in, new challenger, and then it's funny. Thrawn's like, "We need you to stall them." Morgan's like, "Oh crap." She knew, like at that moment, she knew she was, her role was to sacrifice herself to buy time. I don't think she was excited about it, but she was like, "For Dathomir, for the witches, or whatever."
Feel kind of bad.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I figured she was just going to get thrown back in prison at the end of the season.
I mean, I figured she might. I thought she might stick around. But I did also, at the beginning of the season, anyway, I had like high prospects for this actress. I think she's great.
She's good, yeah.
Yeah. But then, getting towards the end, it's like, if anybody is to be like the big person to stall, Enoch's barely in my brain. I already forgot about him.
It doesn't matter.
I figure, Morgan's probably going to be the final defense. And as soon as she got that upgrade, it's like, okay, well, fight's coming. Might not be good.
It's funny, now that I mention it, going forward in season 2, he's not going to have somebody to, talk to, Thrawn. Morgan used to be like his back and forth person for the past couple episodes now.
Yeah.
Is his partner going to be Enoch?
I guess Enoch. I mean, granted, he's not developed enough for us to make any judgment calls.
But I guess that's all we can have for antagonistic back and forth.
Yeah, or I guess like the sisters as well, I guess.
I don't think he's inviting them for some one-on-ones.
No, it would solely be in regards to the Dark Army that they'll raise.
I can definitely. Sorry.
Which I'm hoping they're. I hope they've set up some interesting conflict in that regard, because
that's what I was saying. Yep.
There is a shot, insert moment, where Thrawn orders the tower to be fired upon, and they give a look like, "Oh, huh."
That was so funny that they're like, "Wait, don't be rash, don't be rash."
That's sacred.
That's sacred.
We might need that.
Right. The look they give each other, they're like, "Well, shit, he didn't give a fuck."
Not 1 second of afterthought. He was just like, "There we go."
Yep, destroy it. They're all like, "Well, okay."
And obviously he'll make he'll talk his way out of it if he is confronted about it. But I do not trust that they cannot peer inside my brain and know my pure intentions.
Yeah, so that's 100%. Some, again, season 2 thoughts here. Thrawn's definitely going to have some, hopefully, some interesting sense of conflict with the witches. He did his end of the deal. He got his witches back to Dathomir, a place that we know from the Clone Wars the witches have been wiped out, and especially from the Fallen Order games, the witches have been wiped out. Marin's one of the last survivors. So it's going to be interesting now in this post-Return of the Jedi period, to see how the witches acclimate to Dathomir and how they feel about Thrawn now that they're back in their other homeworld.
What used to have a view?
Yeah, Thrawn's end of the deal is up. How are they going to feel about him? They know he doesn't really care about them, but we know Thrawn's smart, so does he really care about them either? So it's like, ooh, it's going to be interesting.
I think they're still in need of one another, because if you look at it from the different points, it's like Thrawn is without an army. They have the numbers. But they don't have the strategy, and God forbid they all fall once again. And even though it was a ton of numbers there, that's in regards to that battalion. I imagine they'll want to maybe even end up possessing other souls to join the ranks. I don't know. But as it is right now, they don't have battle strategies. And if they can't, use Thrawn's wit to gain more numbers, then they're going to die out again.
True. So yeah, you're right. There still is a sense of need between the two. So yeah, but anyways, so Thrawn's zombies attacks our main trio here. We get a great fight between Morgan and Ahsoka. And again, her job was like, hey, we need you to stall all three of them. Cut to Ezra Sabine. We're just gonna walk around you. Well, Ahsoka fights Morgan.
There's also an interesting thing to discuss because I've seen some discourse about this on Twitter in terms of Thrawn's character, of him claiming for the Empire and stuff. When I guess in regards to the books, he's never been one who's championing the Empire like in beliefs. He's using them as a means to evolve into something to help his people.
Yeah, I mentioned this last week. I'm like, is his goal really to help the Empire? Is there going to be some sense of conflict there as well? But
yeah, and when I hear him say something like, for the Empire, I think he's more saying that as like morale boost for his troops to fight for him, not his personal beliefs.
I agree. He's not going to say, "Hey guys, for the Chiss ascendancy."
Who?
Cricket.
Right.
Yeah, right. So you're right. I think right now it's for the Empire. But don't be surprised. They also said his people also said for Thrawn, not for the Empire.
Yeah.
So they have extreme loyalty to him, not really to anybody else. So it's going to be interesting when he does come back. I think hopefully for Filoni, who if he understands his character, Thrawn isn't going to live and die by the Empire. He's just not. Granted, if you watch Rebels, that's what you think he's going to do. But this is a newer Thrawn. I think. Hopefully, as a villain, there's room for growth and the room for reveals for people who don't read the books at all. That could be like, hey, spoiler alert, surprise, I'm actually here for the Empire, but also my own people. So there could be an interesting like revelation there for future seasons to dive into, if Filoni wants to, or if he wants to make him a huge Empire fan. I guess he can go down that way, but that's less exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting discourse. I'm excited to see what Thrawn does in the future because there's room for some surprises for people who don't read the books. But Filoni classically doesn't read books either. So with a lot of his Trials of the Jedi retcons and Clone Wars retcons and stuff like that. So you never really know with Filoni. But yeah, we get the Death Troopers versus Ezra Sabine. That was pretty fun. Death Troopers. Because they were re-dead Death Troopers.
Yeah, especially like was it the Dark Troopers, or are they also Death Troopers? The ones we see in Rogue One.
I call them Death Troopers. Are they Dark Troopers? Yeah, they're Death Troopers.
They're Death Troopers. The Dark Troopers were the robots from Mando.
Yes.
Yeah, no, these are Dark Troopers. Death Troopers. These are Death Troopers. Yes. Anyway, found it very compelling to see that they were like zombified skulls under the.
That was disgusting. It's like, oh shit. Yeah.
So some of them. Other people are on comms just fine for Ezra to hear.
Exactly right. So yeah, we get Sabine finally able to use the Force here. I'm kind of in two ways about it. In one way, I like it. It reminds me of I instantly thought of Rey in The Force Awakens. That last gasp save kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But also, we jump from Sabine not being able to push the cup to this. It's quite the jump. And, I'm not saying like she needed more training. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying from a moment, I feel like there could have been a different moment. Like, I do love her helping Ezra. It feels more Jedi-like, right? Like, I'm putting my faith, my confidence in my best friend who we just found. I'm helping you push you to, a higher power, to a higher safety. Mm-hmm. This one was just like, boom, got it, good. It felt more like I needed it because I was about to die. So it didn't feel as like genuine as the subsequent scene, but it was still cool. I still like cheered. It was so cool. So yeah, two ways about it.
It's interesting. It's also interesting. I guess the first initial tee up of it is when they're charging the door, like Sabine, help out. Move the doors open, which 3 people doing this, you cannot gauge if Sabine has contributed to that.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, you're like, Sabine, help out. She's like, and then Ahsoka herself gets there and helps. I'm like, was she 10%, 5%? How much did she help out here?
Yeah, it's it's something. But I did find it interesting because I thought of you and your great philosophy in regards to the Force, that it's strongest in someone when they're helping their friends. So that is my like automatic go-to in new Force users, especially somebody like Sabine. I did see it in like a sense of desperation, because it's not only like saving your own skin right now, it's we got to get through this so we can
So we can help
save
everybody else.
others. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Yeah, good. I like that justification. Using my own words against me. I hate you.
You see, you love it.
Actually, wow! All of a sudden, I love it. What are you showing me?
These 5 words will make you change your thoughts on Ahsoka.
Nice.
Bigots hate him. Like,
so yeah, it was a fun moment, and again, it's tense. There's a ticking clock. The ship's getting further and further up. There was a great wide shot where they do a sense of scale, and like the ship's hangar, Thrawn ship, the Chimera ship's hangar, is so far above. I'm like, there's no way she's gonna get up
make
there.
that jump.
And then he jumped, and he's still just so far below. I'm like, he needs like at least 50 meters.
And even when he does like make it to the end of the ship, he got to climb a little. He got to jump
he had,
up more.
He had yeah, it was funny, but it was great seeing Ezra there. And then Ahsoka's still struggling. I'm like, wait a minute, are they going to do it? Are they going to leave her behind? But I was instantly like, okay, Sabine comes back to help Ahsoka, fantastic. Hu Yang comes in with the ship. I saw that coming a mile away.
That's the thing, because before they
come.
leave Hu Yang, we see he's attempting to fix the ship. So I was like, okay, well that's gonna come in later. That's a mystery mouse tool we'll save for later. So when things are going down, which is a great scene, not just the duel between Morgan and Ahsoka, which was a great final blow moment when she gets the blade herself back away.
Ooh, that was so cool.
Double
great
strike.
action across the board. It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. But I also love seeing Sabine being proficient not only with lightsaber but a blaster as well, because blasters are a thing, and again, Ahsoka wanted her to not be a Jedi, be herself. So whatever's comfortable is comfortable. A lightsaber is effective. That's recognized as well. So just combining the two and doing the different slash and blast, really great to clear out the numbers.
Big time. And, early in the episodes, we forgot to mention, but Ahsoka says, like, being a Jedi is not all about using the lightsaber. It's just, like, have faith in yourself, basically. Yeah. And that's, again, comes full circle here as Sabine comes back to help her out using her blasters and her lightsaber. Because lightsabers do help and help clear out those enemies, too. And then, Hu Yang arises. They jump. Hu Yang comes in, and they're getting there. But, wow. Filoni played a Uno reverse card. Did not see this coming at all, actually. I was pretty surprised.
It is compelling how fast their ship is hauling, leaving the atmosphere. And
big time.
Like Thrawn's in the foreground, like drifting, and he's moving. And it's moving fairly fast, but then you see them in the back, and it's like... Hit the NOS!
Punch it! Come on. Yeah. We're just saying, if Vin Diesel was chasing him, he would have found a way.
My dumbass brain is sitting there thinking about the hyperdrive, and I'm like, can you just like on off?
Can you do a short jump?
Yeah, even if from the server, just a little sneeze.
A trust, do a hyperspace jump.
Yeah, which would have been too much. But
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, they didn't make it, Nathan. Wow.
They didn't. It was, and not before Thrawn has like final words.
That was pretty ball. That was pretty cool of him being like, so sad we couldn't see face to face. And
now likely we never will.
We never will. She's like, wait, up, gone.
Yeah, and compelling words that he brings up. Like I do know you, however, because I knew your master, and makes one wonder. Paraphrasing, but makes one wonder. Given what happened to him, what might become of you?
Yeah, and we're like, oh, we already solved that.
We're not worried.
We're not worried. No, we're good. Nice try. You missed 2 episodes ago. She's good.
Now, if this was mid-season,
yeah, if that was
imagine. Could you imagine if Thrawn got back mid-season?
That'd have been great. That might have been too fast.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. 2 more episodes. Things could have been different here. If this happened and we had 2 more episodes to go, ooh, we're cooking.
If you cut and paste the War Between Worlds arc to the tail end.
To the tail end, yeah. Um,
No.
So, but yeah, she says that, and Ahsoka looks down. I'm like, what are you looking down for? Like, you're past this. But anyways, yeah, I was just so shocked. We did all our theories last week, and we all thought like they're all coming back, sure. I didn't think Ahsoka and Sabine were gonna be left behind. That was interesting.
No, because again, like the whole driving force that I was really thinking about is like they all have to get back. How does the one allow this? Like we have to
Yeah.
have all of our chess pieces available for the movie, and I think that's still true. But now I'm like, well, now I need a fucking season 2 before the movie.
Definitely, most definitely. So yeah, and then we cut to the montage that we've been talking about. So we get Ahsoka. We were talking about Shin and Balin, but like for Ahsoka and Sabine, nighttime or not even nighttime. They come across Morai as they're walking back to the no T camp. Morai, a sign of hope that we know that she is for Ahsoka throughout Rebels and Clone Wars. And then at nighttime, I forget what the conversation goes like, but there's just a sense of hope and optimism that they'll find a way to get back. They'll find a way. And then she sees Anakin. He's like, "What's up, guys? How's it going?" No. But hey, what's up?
Good job.
Great job. And it's a sense of unspoken acknowledgement from Anakin, where he's like, "You did good, kid. Snips. You did good." And then yeah.
It was a sense of what they were saying was like, I hope Ezra made it home, and it's like he did, and saying like he's where he needs to be. Which was making me think back to the conversation with Hu Yang and Ahsoka of Sabine like making the only choice that she could. It was the only choice. Akin to that, like everything, like where all the pieces fell or where they're supposed to have fallen.
You're right, and I it's funny because I said that exact same thing as we're watching the episode, and I just forgot about it here. But yeah, that's the overall conclusion of it all. Everything happens for a reason. In Star Wars, that's especially the case. If they got stranded on Peridia, they were meant to be stranded on Peridia. Now, what do? We assume they're going to come across Shin along the way, but most importantly, they're going to use the power of the Mortis to get back somehow. We're getting some forced mysticism to get back and transport ourselves through a different galaxy. Because there was a way that the Mortis people, they went from this galaxy to the next. They
were like a rift in space when we first came across them, so who even knows how they operate.
You're right. How they move around space and time, but like so we'll find a way through there. There was a shining portal that Balin saw, right? A shining light, not even portal, whatever it was, shining light.
Yeah, that
could be a trip to the new galaxy or many other galaxies. So you never know, but that's definitely going to be our way home. One can assume and speculate about. For Shin, is she going to remain
for Shin?
Hashtag for Shin. Some people are saying like she has a sense of like power that's been instilled in her by Balin. Sure. She has a sense of like confidence, a sense of like you're about to be something stronger. So she has a sense of strength, of power, of like using your enemies or using the enemies of your enemies to like unite against your foes. So like it made sense in hindsight why she's teaming up with the Marauders. Balin taught her to do that in episode 6. So it's like she basically went back to that camp and she's like, I'm gonna lead over you now, presumably. But then what's next for her? I have no idea what her prerogative is. I have no idea what her goal and mind state is, what she feels about Balin, what she feels about Ahsoka and Sabine. I assume she doesn't like them. I assume that's going to change in season 2. But why do I think that? I hope it. That's because I hope.
At this point, I'm unclear of Shin's motivations. But all I can really hope for her is that she will make contact with Sabine again. Some situation that will put them hopefully in a Zeb and Callus situation, and they can chat and get perspectives. And it would be interesting if, you know, you get to a talking point of my master kind of left me out in the cold, and Sabine being like, hey, I know a little thing about that. Let's converge about this and give you a new perspective and a new purpose.
Agreed. I think, or maybe even an extension of that. It's like now that Sabine and Ahsoka are on the mend, Sabine can be like, I know what a good relationship looks like. I don't think this is what you had with Balin. And maybe it is, right? We don't really know about what happened to Balin and Shin beforehand. But from our experiences, Balin kind of left her and he's doing his own thing. Is Shin going to feel left behind? Possibly. Similar to what you said with Callus and Zeb. Callus seemingly had a good thing going with the Empire, but he got left behind. He, from his experience of witnessing what the rebels, the community the rebels crew fostered of, you know, belonging, of we're glad you're back, Zeb. Is Shin gonna witness what Sabine and Ahsoka's relationship is like and be like, man, I wish I had that. That would be a good dynamic to have there. So yeah, I think it's gonna start off antagonistic for sure. I don't see why not. But then I definitely think it's going to grow into something more nuanced, hopefully, and something more better. Because again, she's a young character. I don't envision a character like her to be stuck in her ways. It's like I never envisioned Kylo to be stuck in his ways as a villain. He was never going to be stuck as one central antagonist. He was always going to evolve and have senses of doubt. So I think Shin, once they decide to write something for her by herself and not with Balin, her own arc could be something more nuanced and has a lot of potential. And in general, I like the actress. I think her name is Ivana. I think she did good with what Shin was given here, but there's definitely a lot more room for growth here. So yeah, I love your Zeb and Callus situation. That's like the best thing in fiction, when two characters who don't get along with each other get forced to be stranded together. You know, there was in back to After the Last Airbender, you get the Storm episode where you have Aang and Zuko in season 1 together, the Blue Spirit episode as well, where they have to like fight to escape a danger in their jail. So it's like it will be fun to just have them, you know, some Sabine and Shin dynamics. It's so ripe. They're two apprentices. Everybody thought they would have some kind of dynamic and never build up to anything. So I really hope Sabine and Shin can really cook next season.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
Even like if they were to explore an idea of, you know, changing Shin's, you know, stance in the galaxy to a more good-hearted one, but still having a affection for her master, and, you know, going back to maybe try to sway him to a lighter side as well, because, you know, Thrawn's particularly good at reading people, and he seems to only address Balin in the form of Jedi. So maybe a through line there. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be something too. That's definitely a choice as well. Balin just has so much potential.
But where does Luke fit into all this?
I know. We need if they try to shoehorn in a more CGI Luke.
Shin, we're going to the academy.
I wouldn't like that at all. I wouldn't want that at all.
I don't think you want to see anybody at the academy, do you?
No. Okay, now that we know Rise of Kylo Ren Academy doesn't come till much later, so we don't got to worry about that for a minute now. Here's the Mando season 10. Like, oh shit.
They introduced Ben Solo in season 9 of The Mandalorian. You imagine we're gonna tell the full 30-year gap in Disney Plus. Oh
Stop
shit!
It.
Tune in to the fucking Huck show.
So yeah, we kind of speculated about Balin along the way here, but yeah, there's a ton of potential for him, tons of potential for Shin. Oh,
in terms of going the route of recasting, people have been pitching the idea of Liev Schreiber taking on the role, and I think that's fairly compelling.
I named somebody last night on Where Heartbreak Feels Good. I forget who it was. Yeah, this is better than my guess. Yeah, Leaf Schreiber way better than my guess. I said the guy who played in Game of Thrones, he's the one that always dies. What's his name? Sean
Sean Bean.
Sean Bean as well.
Hmm.
I don't know. He's an older guy now, right? So
Yeah. But yeah, looking side by side, Leaf Schreiber like not only has like
he might be younger.
maybe he has a similar look, and he also I feel like his voice would probably match better in like the deep cadence. Also, somebody brought it up to him, and he liked the reply, so it's on his radar, kind of.
Oh, Filoni. You said Filoni, you mean?
No, Leaf Schreiber.
Oh, somebody talked to Leaf Striper about it. Okay, he liked the reply. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So Rafe Stevenson was, how old was he? He was in his, he was only in his 50s, right?
I think, right?
Born in 64. I don't know math. He is 58, yeah. Wow. And how old is Leaf Schreiber here?
He's up there. He's getting up there.
Yeah, I think he's getting up there too.
Late 40s at least.
Leaf Schreiber is 56.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Cooking. Yeah, fans are really good at fan casting. I'm terrible at it. I could definitely see a Leaf Schreiber being in there. But yeah, it's so depressing, man. But I'm glad he's not dead. I thought with the direction I thought they would go by giving us more Balin content that he would die, but I still don't think he has a long shelf life. He'll probably die in season 2.
Yeah, because apparently the rule of Hollywood, if you're not fucking Fast and Furious, if they're not dead by the end of the production one that they died on, then come the next one, they're out.
They're out, yeah. I just think it would work thematically with them. I don't want characters to die a lot of the time. I think Star Wars kills off more than they should.
Yeah.
But that's why I have high hopes for Shin, because I think Shin could carry on some of what Balin's saying, but also similar to what Sabine's doing with Ahsoka, or what Ahsoka's doing with Anakin. Carry on the legacy of the Master while also acknowledging that something they did wasn't great either. So good and the bad, you take both with you, not just one. So yeah, I think those moments felt hollow with Shin and Balin, but Filoni's cooking. I'll gladly be there to eat. I just wish we had something here in this season with them. But again, with Ahsoka looking on Anakin's ghost, I think her arc, she got acknowledgement from her past. She finally was able to recognize that I'm going to take the good and bad from Anakin. I should not, carry on this idea of fear and destruction with me along the way. It's going to hurt my relationship to Sabine. It's going to hurt my relationship to others. Like, he was so willing to just not find Ezra this season and just, do things alone. It took Hera to convince her to find Sabine. It took Sabine herself initiating to get Ahsoka to be with her in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I like that Ahsoka's finally rekindling her relationships with others. I'm excited to see, similar to how Ezra didn't have this kind of like depressing arc, but Ezra was able to, like, as we saw in his reunion, be able to reconnect with the Noti. He was helping them out so well. So Ahsoka being around these new people could only be beneficial for her. The Noti seem like great people, so maybe this is Ahsoka's time to reconnect with nature, reconnect with the Force, just like Ezra did. So yeah, only good things are coming here. Thrawn, I wish his threat was more realized at the end. I love your idea of Ezra going to Hera and just being like, there's a big threat coming, like tying up the hatches, basically. Also, I'm home. You can do both, Filoni. So that's exciting. Again, for the cargo, we're assuming those are witches, or reanimated corpses, etc. It was Filoni. It was funny that I mentioned Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it felt very much like there was a huge
shot,
warehouse scene.
Like somebody's walking down the center of these big pillars, and I'm like, yeah. Yeah, oh, cool. Like, I'm not like blown away. It's like, oh shit, it's Raiders.
Right. I thought we'd zoom into one of the scenes and it'd be like it would start shaking or something, some kind of tease like what's to come with those crates.
Yeah.
Not that I'm super infatuated. Like, what's in the box? I don't care. But like, they kept talking about it. So I'm like, do I care? Do I not care? Should I not care?
Pulled from the catacombs.
Yeah.
Nothing good ever comes out of a catacomb.
I think the last question is, what's up with Enoch? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Any other questions, Nathan? No. It's not.
No other questions. I do like the shot of Anakin looking to Ahsoka, seeing that she's going to, without a doubt, after her journey, become, the great master she was always destined to become. Probably ideally before ever leaving the order. Just things are made right in that relationship, which is great. Interestingly enough, and it's gonna sound silly because I actually fell asleep. I started listening to the audiobook for A Certain Point of View, Return of the Jedi, that just came out.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, because I heard there was a story in regards to Anakin in the novel, so I immediately jumped to that chapter. It's like the third to last, and
they make you earn it. Damn.
I know, and you can't, for some reason I can't queue up chapters in Audible, so I had to go like fucking skip 22 times. But I got there and I started listening to it, and it's a beautiful telling of Anakin's experience as he's dying and entering the afterlife. So it literally starts with his last words to tell your sister you were right, and then his whole journey of passing on and going into the void, and it's super emotional, like the way he's experiencing this finally this sense of like calm and peace and like no more pain, and it's beautiful. But then his brain starts filling with like the memory of all the wrong he's done as Vader in this time, and he just kind of like breaking that central mindset of like, no, I can't die, this cannot be my end, because I have to fix this, I have to right wrongs I've done. I can't let this be the final breath of Anakin Skywalker. And he's like thinking back to like this inspirational bit of like stories his mom would tell him about like the great sand dragons, and like you have the heart of such a beast, and he was like pulling on that power of his inner thoughts. And as he's like, I imagine it's the descriptive thought of him becoming into a metaphysical being within the Force, and then calling out to him, approaching him, the one being to meet him is Obi-Wan, and that's when I fell asleep.
Nathan, what the fuck?
I was laying down. I was
you're leaving the audience and me on red there.
I know, because I literally I couldn't fall asleep, and then I turned on the audiobook because like I'll finish this chapter for you.
Son of a bitch.
I know, and I'm like, fuck, I want to know what happens next.
How it ends? Do you know?
That's why I jumped in. What's his name? Something Lee, I think. I can cue it up, I believe.
Thank you. That sounds really good. I've heard that his story was very heartwarming and emotional, but yeah, that sounds very good. I like that a lot. Very good. Yeah, that's exciting. And it goes into what we see here: Anakin kind of righting his wrongs and helping his Padawan make for a brighter future for herself and others.
That was Mike Chen who wrote it.
Mike Chen, the author of last year's, I think he wrote Padawan, which is the story of Anakin and Obi-Wan. I have that on Audible that I have not read either. Good job, Mike Chen. I would love for Mike to be a part of the High Republic. I know people have asked him to be part of the new Phase 3, but I think they're booked now. But I think there's potential for Mike Chen in the future of Star Wars. What is it called? Writing.
The story was definitely quite compelling in his writing in this description. So
that's cool. Awesome. Yeah. So he wrote Anakin last year. They have him wrote Anakin again. 2 different stages of his life, of course, but that's nice.
Granted, stage I've always been the most intrigued by, and Ahsoka has given it to me as well. The thought of Anakin post redemption.
Me too. Yeah, big time. Wow. 8 weeks of hyperspace hype. This was fun. There's definitely more to come. We'll definitely try to do some more stuff here in the off season of Star Wars shows. But we have coming up in terms of Star Wars shows.
Skeleton Crew.
There it is. I was blanking. I was trying to stall. Thank you.
There was the show that is releasing this year by the Lucasfilm Story Group.
Yeah, Skeleton Crew, which I think is still rumored for like a Christmas time, I think they said. Am I making that up? Something's happening in Christmas. One of the Disney or Star Wars or Marvel shows, something's happening in Christmas.
Maybe. It's funny because I think with a name like Skeleton Crew and it being described as like Amblin-esque, I figured it would have been an October release.
Yeah, you would think. But they're going to do that for Loki this year. Skeleton Crew. Is there a release date for Skeleton Crew? Nothing on the Google. So yeah, I think that's coming out either late this year or early next year for sure. It seemed very far in production given what we saw at Celebration in London. We weren't there, but we heard about it, that it was pretty much nearly finished.
The kid who was sniped gave his life for the stream.
Bless. So yeah, we'll be doing stuff about Skeleton Crew in the future, Bad Batch Season 3. Hopefully that's sooner than later. I'm assuming like springtime 2024. And then we have Acolyte, which I'm just, whoa! I can't wait.
Release
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Give
right
me the trailer
now.
at least.
Right? We still haven't seen the full trailer. We just saw half of a leaked trailer from Reddit and from online Star Wars people a couple months ago. So yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at HarrisEV9. High Republic is in full swing. Phase 3, at least, is in full swing. I'm still reading Tales of Light and Life. That was the anthology leading up to Phase 3 and includes some Phase 3 stories. But today, the Shadows of Starlight comic book released, and it's our first step into what the Jedi are doing in Phase 3. Starting next month, though, is The Eye of Darkness, which is the first big novel for, again, Phase 3. But yeah, so I'm full on High Republic grind these days. Reality TV is kicking my ass. I've hardly been able to watch Big Brother live feeds the past 2 days because I've been doing these podcasts and I've been watching these TV shows. And I usually watch live feeds or catch up on them after school around this time. So I haven't been able to do that recently, but Big Brother's been, very good. Big Brother 25. Survivor was very good tonight as well. 90-minute episodes. They're pretty much fun. I like it. It's a new experience, but I like it so far. And then Amazing Race, I'm going to be catching that all the time as well. But yeah, if you're fans of this podcast, we got more Hyperspace hype, but also more commentaries coming up for spooky season. We're doing Goonies soon, but also starting tomorrow, My Cup of Tea. Well, we're not doing My Cup of Tea tomorrow, but My Cup of Tea is starting up again with Loki, which is my favorite Disney Plus show, one of my favorite Marvel projects just in general. It's fantastic. And I've heard the best things about season 2. So I cannot wait for season 2. Hopefully it's as strong, if not better, than season 1. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I know they keep dropping marketing. I refuse to watch.
Same. I haven't seen a lot of marketing. I've been kind of dodging it a little bit, Nathan. I've been like popping and weaving. And
even like whenever like the trailer came out, I think I watched it. I hit replay as soon as I watched it. Haven't touched it since.
Same. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how many. Do we know how many episodes? Is it going to be 6 again?
8 episodes, I think.
Is it?
Wait. Is it 6? I think it's 6.
I think it is 6. I think I remember seeing the release.
No, me too. No, wait. No, don't do this to me. Loki season 2. Actually, not just because I know Marvel came out with like a episode guide thing, with titles or something. I'll find it. You keep on talking.
Yeah, well, I saw somebody like dropped like a it's like episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and their the release date and time drop, which they were all the same, like 9 p.m. EST.
Yeah, 9 p.m. EST, 6 episodes. Season ends November 9th. Damn.
Right. It's wild.
Was season 1 6 episodes?
Yeah.
Okay, then I have faith. I have faith.
Yeah.
I want more. I want more. You don't stop being so limited. Disney Plus 6, 8. Give me more. Give me more.
Didn't get very far. I'll be intrigued to see how they handle the relationship between Loki and Mobius, given that it's a different Mobius, seemingly. If we have to find our Mobius, if we have to just bring him up to speed memory wise, I don't know. Obviously, we're going to be tracking down Sylvia at a point. That's going to be exciting. She's working at McDonald's.
The go.
I'm looking forward to that and the Kang of it all, the Kang Chronicles continuing.
Yeah, how are they going to work him in? I think, controversy aside, he's going to be a prominent figure in season 1 or season 2 here.
It has me most intrigued of like any idea. Granted, it's only like the second property we're getting Kang with, but when we're going off of like the comedy fest of Quantumania, which had an end credit scene that drives what we're going to get in season 2 of Loki, which is Loki is terrified of this man.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see that in full force. Now I'm very much looking forward to that. So catch us on Friday for those. I guess we're going to be sticking with Fridays, hopefully, with that. Just get like the soonest release. Very fun. So that being said, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you miss future coverage on all things Star Wars and beyond. And that being said, hope you have a great day. And may the Force be with you always. And follow me here. I forgot.